Hello there, and welcome to the CP7 podcast. My name's Palm.
And I'm Andy.
And together, we are Chrono Passion 7. Hello, and welcome back to your favourite watch-related podcast, where we talk about watches, the watches we like, and remember, it's your wrist, your rules. We've been to Geneva Watch Days. We've had a bit of fun, and we're ready to record this show. Andy, what you got to say about Geneva Watch Days then?
Well, probably an awful lot, over an hour's worth. But first, let's do a quick wristwatch check. What are you wearing today? What's on the wrist?
Today, I'm wearing a watch I've bought quite a while ago now, a few months ago, but I've never worn it on the show. It's a watch I've worn out a few times. It is my new-ish Cartier Santos Gal B. It's in two-tone, it's 29mm, it's a classic 80s looking watch in the two-tone. I think this probably is the best steel yellow gold combination two-tone watch you can get. And what makes it for me is just the complete smooth bracelet. There's no clasp, there's a hidden clasp. And the gold screws, for many years, I've always admired them, and I thought, right, for me, those gold screws make it. And every time I wear it, like now, it's just like, I just keep looking at, I rotate my wrist, I just keep looking at those screws on it. It is just such a beautiful watch. It's quartz, the one I've got, a bit controversial, but hey, we don't care. Like we say, your wrist, your rules. It's a beautiful watch that I've wanted for so long, and I've finally got it. So that's what I've got on my wrist. Andy, what you got?
Just before I get into mine, I want to say I'm really happy I finally got to see your Santos. But beautiful, really nice on the wrist, and it was cool to see it after hearing so much about it, and I know how much you wanted to add a Santos to your collection. What do I have on the wrist? So I could wear two watches, as I wore two watches to Geneva Watch Days. I was that guy, double wristing. However, I did get away with it due to wearing the little Omega de Ville bracelet watch, which I have, and that turned into a little bit of an icon, which will probably, it's not about my watch, but it does come up in a few various stories around Geneva Watch Days. But it became a bit of a famous watch while I was there, so it felt only right to wear that watch. And I think that's a really nice memory what's connected with it now. Just all the people, all the conversations around that watch. It brought up a lot of curiosity. And for me, that's one thing I love about watches is the questions they raise and the thoughts they provoke sometimes. It was great. So anyway, long story short, that's what I'm wearing. I'm rambling about on my wrist today.
Just you double-wristed. What was the other one?
While I was there, I'm not wearing two watches now, but while I was there, I also wore the Chopard St. Moritz. And again, that's another reason why I was glad you brought your Santos. I don't know why, I just think they make a really nice pairing. It's kind of... The St. Moritz for me is like the Santos of Chopard. Not anymore. The Alpine Eagle, I don't believe that represents anything close to what a Santos is. But the original Alpine Eagle had that essence, let's say, of that Santos design ID without trying to be it. It's a nice two-tone combo with those two pieces. And I'm really into two-tone at the moment.
A twin two-tone combo.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because the Santos really represents you well, and I think the St. Moritz represents me quite well. So I think it worked.
I think that's fair. I've always wanted a Santos. I was going full two-tone, actually, because I wore my Daytona as well, which is a two-tone white dial. So while I don't double wrist, I was rotating the watches. And, rotating my white dial two-tone yellow gold steel sports watches.
I was rotating between wrists.
Slightly dressy edge.
Because I didn't know
what he was. Andy was, yeah.
I didn't know which one, because the clasp on the Omega is a little tricky. But it turned into the watch what I had to take off to show people all of the time. So it made more sense in the end to wear it on the left. Couldn't get away with just rocking it like a bracelet. But
it was quite the star of the... It was actually more popular than Andy.
It was. Forget me.
Get out of the way. There's that watch. I've seen this watch on Instagram. Excuse me. Can you just take it off your wrist and give it to me?
Yeah. Don't care about you. Just show me the watch.
People were walking off with it, and
it was bizarre. I've had that experience once before with the Zenith monopusher, but not. This was the most extreme I've ever had with a watch. I didn't expect it to be that popular, but hey.
It was funny because it got a lot of attention, and there was a little story about the name on the back.
Yeah.
And then we were both telling this, and then at the end, just can't be bothered.
Got fatigued.
Have a look.
Yeah.
Even I was going to. So Andy's watch has got his Amiga DeVille has got the gold bracelet one has got a Leopoldo engraved on the back.
Yeah, get the story out of the way.
And then and when we were at we were at an appointment, and the guy who was giving us at the end, we said, "Oh, well, sorry, we don't know your name," and he said, "Oh, my name's Leopoldo," and I was like, "What?" And I kind of sort of nudged Andy, go, Leopoldo, and he's like, "Oh my god, look at my watch." And he was like transfixed and wanted to buy it and everything. He said he'd never known a Leopoldo apart from himself before. Anyway, one story amongst many.
Yeah, there we go. We got that one out of the way.
A few days,
but it was cool for me because I was like, okay, it's a man's name, so because I was never sure, is it a lady's watch? Because it is quite petite in some way, but the bracelet obviously is a man's size, but that is definitely a man's first name. So there we go.
Well, it could have been a surname.
Yeah, it could have been, or it could have even been the man's name for his wife. The riddle continues.
Actually, I'll tell you what's funny, because my watch has got Mandy.
Yeah, so there you go. Maybe it was a man's name for his wife.
Actually, maybe
you're my property.
Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway,
Exactly.
There's one of the many stories. We got that one out of the way. So let's go back to the beginning. We've already got rambling, which is great. But where did things kick off? My journey, I'm not going to bore people with it. For once, we didn't go in the middle of the night, which was great. Got into Geneva around 2:30ish or 3:30ish, something like that. But plain sailing. My usual place where I get the quiche was no longer open. It was under renovation. Was
closed.
Panic stations, but luckily the one next door was open, where I was eagerly awaiting Palm's arrival. But yeah, how did your journey kick off?
It was delayed again,
as always.
So I think I was delayed for about an hour. But it was quite bizarre because I knew it was getting delayed, and then I just see someone walking past, and I thought, nah. And it was, the funny thing is, it was friend of the show, Mike Stockton from Fratello on Air. He was on the same flight as me, so it was just like, "Hey, Mike," and he came, sat down, we're having a laugh, and then I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Ella from Watch Pro. She was also there. So then it was just, honestly, there's about 4 or 5 people on my flight, which was quite strange. It was quite, normally, I've always made the association of flying to Geneva just by myself. That's, you go there, you get off, I meet Andy, and then you bump into people as and when. But I was bumping even on Instagram, Dylan Butt from Lux Forte. He was sitting on the plane. I said hello to him, and it was it was quite. There's quite a lot of watch people on my plane, so I'm guessing there's a lot of Geneva Watch Days footfall on there. So that was cool. It made the delay more palatable and more bearable. And then I arrived, and I remember I said to Mike, I was like, "Oh yeah, we go to this place for quiche. Andy has this quiche place, and we always meet up there and have a beer." So he was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do it." And I walked past. I go, I think it's disappeared. You kind of think, what's going on? And then we carried on walking, and I thought Andy's. And when the association was Andy was sitting in this other shop, and it was just like, he didn't tell us, by the way. I had to find out for myself. And I was like, "What's Andy doing in there?" Okay, he's there, but this is bizarre. Have they had a refit? I didn't even know what had happened. But anyway, we sat down, we had a beer, and then told a few tales, took a few wrist shots of each other's watches, and then, we were ready for the adventure.
There was one thing, the only interesting thing what happened on my flight was a guy was wearing an MB&F, the Bulldog. I'm like, that's such a sick watch. This guy must be a proper watch guy. But he just fell asleep, and I didn't want to be the crazy guy shaking him to, "Hey, can I talk about your watch?" But yeah, that was the coolest thing on my flight. But no watch friends on my flight.
No friends.
No friends.
Andy was flying solo.
A guy saw my St. Moritz and like, I'd rather sleep than talk to that guy. But anyway, checking the hotel, then we had a bit of a party, right, at the Jacob & Co event, which seems to be a bit of a theme for most events. We kick things off with them, which is always great. We always appreciate the very warm invitation. And yeah, good fun, very, very chill, very laid back, drinks flowing as always. We didn't go too crazy that night. And of course, who do we bump into there? Mike, once again, right? A friend
Mike
of the show.
from Fratello, wasn't it?
You go to a bar, who's going to be there?
And also Dave Sargent from Fratello. So there is quite a big Fratello connection over this trip, actually. we were like best buddies.
Yeah,
who's
who? Who was the unofficial part of who? I think it was them trying to,
CP7. CP7 is the accommodating Fratello.
Yeah,
Fratello.
Yeah.
We even saw RJ as well. Yeah, we saw all of them. Yeah. It was just
all just
really
putting
cool.
it on to us these days. I don't know why.
It's that gold watch Andy's got.
Yeah, it's that Amiga, it just gets instant status. We've had on a few other people, right? Who else was there? One of the guys from Time and Tide, right? The editor.
Jamie from Time and Tide Australia.
Yeah, great guy.
Really cool guy.
Really cool guy, yeah. Very engaging and, yeah, great to talk to. And that was it, yeah. That was the first night. Done, dusted. And then the first day comes. And then it was Beau Rivage Day, so just for those of you who maybe didn't go this year, as it's rapidly evolving as Geneva Watch Days, and it's turning into somewhat of a, untamable animal, I would say. It's getting bigger and bigger. Brands are everywhere. That's one downside. You're not centralized in one location. You're literally hopping all around Geneva to see the brands. And as always, myself and Palm, our eyes are bigger than what we can actually do sometimes. And yeah, we go see them, we can see them. And yeah, it's only a 10-minute walk from here to there. And yeah, it's just very, very difficult.
For watch guys, our concept of time isn't very realistic.
Good. Yeah, we need to, that's why every time we come back, we're like, let's review, we change it. But yeah, it was Beau Rivage Day, so we checked out all the brands in Beau Rivage. That was it. The evening came, and we hung out with Moser. Again, thank you for a great invitation to hang out with Moser for some after-work drinks. And, of course, we were joined by Fratello, and which, surprise.
By Fratello.
And then we went to the tent, right? The big opening ceremony.
I know, but at Moser, we also saw Dave from Scottish Watches and Gavin, the video editor, who's a listener of the show. So shout out to Gavin.
Legend.
Great to see you out there.
Yeah, was it our first time meeting Gavin as well?
First time we met him in person.
Yeah, great. Yeah, felt like we've known him a long time. Very easy.
Yeah.
I always like people who are just easy to talk to, and just click straight away. So yeah, great guy. Then we went to the main ceremony and bumped into everybody. It's hard to even remember who was there, right? But bumped into Rob, of course, from the Real Time Show.
Rob Nuds.
And Rob Nuds, who's a lethal, if you're listening, Rob, which I know Rob listens to the show, a lethal drinking partner. So we do have to avoid him, otherwise we end up with the worst hangovers ever. But always a great time, a legend, a great laugh. And yeah, that was it. The night went into the early hours, but it was fun, right? And then the next day, a bit weary-eyed, and that was the day where we just running everywhere all over the city, right?
Yeah, I'm glad we did the Beau Rivage thing that day, though, because
it was a bad weather day as well.
But we purposely planned all our appointments at the Beau Rivage for day one, and yeah, it was lucky because everything was just it changed this year. There was a different vibe this year, but we'll talk about that a bit later on. Everything was everywhere, but luckily that day, everything was all in the Beau Rivage, and our feet were still killing us by the end of it. But it was, the thing is, we thought we'd be really smart, do everything in the Beau Rivage, and, it's going to be easy, and then we stay out all night with Rob. So our advantage was quite quickly lost when we got home at
He's a bad influence.
Yeah, when we got home at 3 a.m. and they're kicking us out of places and stuff. So
doing shots with
I
the
don't
bar
know.
manager.
I don't think it's a bad influence. I just think we're just kindred
Maybe
spirits
we
who just find it. No, I just think you just find birds of a feather flock together. I think that's what.
Yeah, it's true.
That's what the thing
true. Yeah, all jokes aside, it's. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was a good night, good laugh.
Top night.
Yeah, we paid the price for sure the next day, but we had a job to do. We got on with it. One thing I will say as well, we are going to get to the watches. We will get there. We just first want to give you the essence of what it was like and what we got up to. But one big mistake, I very confidently said to Palm, this is Beau Rivage, day one, morning, a little hungry, a little thirsty. I'm like, there seems to be a bar there. And there used to always be an area where you could get free, like a Coca-Cola or a coffee or a little something in the Beau Rivage, but it's under renovation. It's all changed around. And we go to the bar, and I'm like, yeah, they have croissants, sir. And I was like, going to help myself. And I thought it was just like, help yourself. And the guy was like, I'll do that. That's for you, sir. And we sat down, and we got the coffees. I'm going to have a Coca-Cola as well. I need a bit of energy. And anyway, long story short, they brought the bill, and it's like €60. And all we had was 2 flat white coffees, a Coca-Cola, which was like €9. And 2 croissants, which came to the price of like €16 or something like that. And they were very average at best. And we're like, oops, it was not a free bar. I died inside. The Yorkshireman inside me died. I lost a little piece of myself in that moment.
I think the Yorkshireman inside you was very much alive because he's the one who thought everything was free. I remember thinking, I walked in, I think, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, it's just, I think what the story is 2 years ago, we went to, it wasn't even the Beau Rivage, it was somewhere else. It was the Four Seasons, and we got free waters. And we were like, and we were like, this is sparkling, like bottled water, not tap water, because that's free anyway. And I think that may have triggered something. And I remember
false confidence.
Yeah, a false sense of security. And I remember saying, I don't think this is free. And, of course it's free. Sit down here. And then the pastries look really good. Yeah, I'll have one. And it was just like, are you sure? Okay. And then they were tiny as well. It wasn't even like, you go to other places, just like proper nice big croissants, which I love. And it was the tiniest croissant. And then this coffee, the coffee
was good.
You pay €10 for a coffee, you expect it to be decent. And then the funniest thing was the bill. When Andy saw the bill, when you know someone's trying not to show a reaction, and it's kind of like, it was all over his face. He was like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, well, come on, €60, but I don't care where it is. It's like, it wasn't even that great.
No, not even that. No, I think just the bill was the thing that shocked you. Forget how much it was.
I was shocked that we got a bill, but then the price, like
me
€60. I mean, come on.
Me too.
Like, €30, even €30 for that is a joke, but I'd accept it for Geneva. But anyway, the irony of it was the first appointment we sit down. Would you like anything? Coca-Cola, coffee, croissant?
Coffee. Yeah, it was so funny. The funny thing was the Coke as well. I'll have a Coca-Cola. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm still not 100% sure this is free.
Like, it was the best Coca-Cola I've ever had in my life. Well, different to all the other ones I had in the hotel.
It was very premium. Different, special one. Yeah, better than all the free ones.
Yeah, straight off the factory line into my hands. Yeah. Brewed and bottled there and then. Anyway, we live and we learn.
Yeah, so if you're ever in Beau Rivage, don't go to
don't do it.
Restaurant.
There's no free bar.
The bar part.
Don't do it.
Don't do what we ended up doing. Yeah.
Yep. And what happened next? Second day, was just a bit of an all over the place day with a hangover.
I gotta say, I did find, and I touched on this a bit earlier. I don't know if you thought the same thing, Andy, but it was just, everything was just, I know Beau Rivage there, it was under renovation, so they couldn't host as many brands as they do normally. But everything just seemed everywhere and quite disjointed. The event didn't have quite the same sparkle because of that. Because one thing was here, one thing's on the other side of town, one thing was round there, and it was a lot of walking around. I don't know what you think. That made it slightly unenjoyable.
I totally agree, and I think it's almost like you feel the brands are expecting too much of what you have to, what, like, press can physically offer. It's different. I know it's a different kind of show because it's for the consumer as much as it is for press as well. But a lot of it is press focused. There's a lot of strategic releases at Geneva Watch Days because there is a lot of press there, and there is some new novelties which we'll get into shortly. And as press, you do want to see them. You want to talk about the hot watches and share them, let people know about them as soon as you can. But it's almost like you're overstretched unless you're a powerhouse of an outlet. As well. It's almost impossible. And because it's so spread out, that energy of just like when you're having a moment and you're bumping into like, to be honest, we didn't see a lot of people when we were running around everywhere. Like you kind of disconnected everybody. You ships in the night. Like how many times did we pass Ricky and Dave, and Gavin?
Yeah. But it was good though. That was
it was funny, but it was like
it's always we always see Ricky and Dave literally ships in the night. We stop and talk, say hello, have a bit of banter. We managed to get a bit of banter in between on one occasion, and again, and Gavin as well, getting to chat to him a bit more on the second or third day, and then I just think that was good. That's the fun part. The fun part was the people.
Yeah, it is.
I think the way it was spread out, that kind of like made up for the fact that you had to run all over. It's only a small part of Geneva. It's not the biggest place, but
when you're wearing fancy shoes.
Yeah, I just thought I wore trainers in the end. I just thought I wasn't really comfortable. First day I blistered up my feet, and I thought, screw this. I'm just gonna wear trainers or some really, really comfortable ultra comfortable shoes, because it gets a bit too much running around. It was good fun though. Whatever, the fun made up for it, but I think it could have been a bit better organized. I don't know if you agree, but it seems like more and more brands are going there now and thinking, oh, there's some focus here. Let's pitch up our tent here as well. And like non-independent brands, mainstream brands are kind of turning up as well, which kind of confused the vibe.
I think I touched on it earlier. It's turning into an untameable animal almost now. Like it's amazing. It's growing, right? And I think it was born from COVID, and they wanted to get some event going again, from my understanding. And it's fantastic, the momentum it has, and it deserves it. It is truly a special event because it's a lot more intimate, generally speaking, with the brands. Especially when you're seeing independents, you're sitting down, you're speaking with the CEOs, the owners of a brand. And you can really connect with their vision for watches. You understand the magic of what it is all about. And that's what's truly special as Watches and Wonders, great event, but you're not sitting down with the designers. Not in most cases, you're not. And you're not sitting down with the creative directors. You're sitting down with the reps who are going to tell you the story of the watches, the new novelties.
Yeah.
With a big group, you're in and you're out. It's
that was
different.
The confusing part, yeah.
Yeah.
That was
so it's
why are you doing this?
Yeah, so it's confusing when you start to see bigger brands coming in to what it feels like an independent watch show. But then equally, you get the same thing with Time to Watches next to Watches and Wonders, almost doing the opposite with smaller micro and independent brands next to it's kind of like they're both jumping on each other's events somewhat, and maybe it just needs to be one bigger giant collaboration rather than these.
I don't
it gets it just gets hard to cover it all, really.
I think Time to Watches is kind of more like micro brands or smaller
brands, but there is independence there as well, though.
High end,
not ultra high end
watches, 6-figure price point watches.
No.
I get it. I mean, look, people are turning up to Geneva for a show, and they'll put on a show. The brands will. When you're with the independent brands, I think it was nice. You sit down, you get to, as Andy was saying, you get to chat to them, and you hear about everything. But there were appointments at major brands, which we were happy to have done and very grateful. But you kind of just
feels a bit more like Watches and Wonders again, though.
Marketing spiel.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the guy who designed this watch. Yeah, this guy designed the watch, and he wants to tell you his vision. It's we have done this for this reason.
It's not. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and I think that belongs at Watches and Wonders, and Watches and Wonders is, let's say, fantastic event, but it's two different styles. One's independent focus, one is mainstream focus, and when you start to merge and blur those lines, it's kind of like what are you trying to be? But yeah, look, I'm sure the organisers will work it out. They're doing amazing things. There's no criticism. We love all of these events from
good fun.
From Watches and Wonders, Geneva Watch Day, Time to Watches, all cool. It can become overwhelming. and that's the problem with it. It's hard
Yeah.
to know where, as media, where do you put your attention? That's something we're having to think about, like, who do we go to? Who do we want to see? Because it's just, we can't see everybody anymore because it's getting too vast, too big. So
You have to be more choosy.
you've got to be selective, and it's some incredible brands, and you can't see them because time doesn't allow for it. Your body can't physically do it. And we were there for a long time. We were there for 4 days and we couldn't, over 30 something appointments. And we've shortlisted down to maybe 4 brands each for which we're going to cover in a moment. So there you go.
And I think the crux of it is that the FOMO, because you want to see all of them. When you go to a watch show, you want to see everything, because then you speak to people afterwards, you do a bit of a debrief, and like, did you see this? You're kind of like, well, no, we didn't see that. Oh, you got to go tomorrow, and you're kind of like, oh, maybe we can squeeze this in here, and then you kind of realize that you're on a time constraint anyway. But it's FOMO. You want to see it all, and there's a lot to see.
Yeah.
I just think it's getting bigger and bigger, which isn't a bad thing because it's an amazing show. It's just getting a little bit confused, and I think I'm a bit worried it might get so big that it kind of, they say, it might eat itself. It's just
perfect.
too big an
Summary,
animal.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't happen.
No, I hope not. The other fear is, at the moment, you can, Watches and Wonders, it's an expensive ordeal for, if you want to be there, you already know if you're somebody who wants to be out, even if it's public days, it's expensive to get accommodation unless you stay on the outskirts. And even then, it's expensive. It's currently Geneva Watch Days. If you get it on time of release of the dates of the event, the prices are okay. They're not bad at all. They're not as bad as Watches and Wonders. But if it keeps getting bigger, hotels are just going to, we're cashing in on this, and it's going to get harder and more expensive for everyone as well. So not that matters maybe for the brand so much, but it matters to us smaller, independent media outlets, let's say. It gets harder for us. But yeah, we'll see. Time will tell. We're on to a great thing. It is something magical about Geneva Watch Days. I just hope it doesn't get so big that it loses what it was originally all about, and that more intimate collaboration. I hope that doesn't go, as it gets bigger. But yeah,
I mean, I'll still go next year. There's nothing going to stop me doing that.
Yeah, unless we're blacklisted after this. But,
unless we've got ourselves cancelled, but I don't think so.
Anyway, is there any more highlights? Any more moments of interest to highlight, or is it now we're blabbing for 30 minutes? We haven't talked about any watches
get into
yet.
Some watches.
Brands?
Let's get into some watch talk.
Let's talk watches.
So first, where should we start? Let's start with one of the highlights every time we go to Geneva Watch Days, and I'd say that's Moser, H Moser and C. And they had a couple of watches that we were quite taken by. Andy, which was your favourite?
Unfortunately, my favourite I'm not allowed to talk about, and I think it's equally yours.
We can't talk about it, but it's amazing.
So the dangle this tasty carrot, and you can't even get into it. But the watches which we are allowed to talk about, however, for me, it was the Endeavour Perpetual Calendar with the smoked salmon dial, and the idea of this, it's kind of like 3 areas of Moser coming together, right? Because you have that smoked salmon dial on it was introduced on the Streamliner, right? And then you have the Perpetual Calendar, which is now part of the Endeavour range, right? Which I believe before was part of Pioneer, etc. So it's all these different attributes coming together, right? Don't quote me on the 3 entities coming together exactly, but I know that was the principle of it. And what I love about this is just, one, I loved that the smoked salmon dial, I think it's extremely beautiful. The way they do dials is incredible with Moser. Something I've always loved about Moser from before being into the deep end as much as I am now in this journalistic journey is the purity of the dial. And the way they've done this perpetual calendar and they've kept it so clean and pure, and what you would think would be the running minutes or running seconds, sorry, not running minutes, running seconds at 6 o'clock is actually the perpetual calendar function. Then you flip the watch over and you've got your leap year indicator on the back there as well. and then just a very neat power reserve opposite, which balances perfectly with the date window as well, I have to say, at 3 o'clock. So the watch is perfectly balanced, very clean, in white gold, 42 millimeter. I mean, just for me, it looked class on the wrist, and it's just that simplistic cleanliness, which Moser do so well, yet the complexity of a perpetual calendar was there. So absolute winner for me. But how about yourself, Pam? Which was your favourite, which you are allowed to talk about?
My favourite was the Moser Pioneer Flying Hours with the white fume dial. Now, I've not seen a white fume dial before, and the way they've done it is quite something, quite visually spectacular, I'd say. It's like a dark fog descending onto like snow or an ice cap or something. It's very, very cool. And they've got this star wheel function on it as well. It's called the Flying Hours because it doesn't have hands. It uses 4 independent discs. One for the minutes from 0 to 60, and then there's 3 hour markers, one at 12, one at 4, and one at 8, and the hours rotate. So let's say it's 10 o'clock displayed at 10, 11 will be at the 4 o'clock, 12 will be at the 8 o'clock window, and so on and so forth. It's a very impressive complication that they've put on it as well. I mean, the look draws inspiration from the classic perpetual calendar Pioneer. Like I say, from an aesthetical point of view, that white, grey-blue fume and the star wheel are just winning. I just got to say, it's just a beautiful-looking watch and very, very cool. So that was my pick from Moser. What was your next one, Andy?
For me, we move into one of the big brands who were there. So that was Zenith. And I do have to say, hats off to Zenith. When we had our appointment, it did feel more intimate. It felt pretty chill. You got a quick story, about the collaboration. So I'm sure everybody is aware of this because the media and coverage was pretty vast. So the Zenith X USM collaboration. This is basically 4 Zenith DeFis with the El Primero integrated into it. I believe it was 60 pieces available per 4 colours. I really liked it. I just liked the colour palette of all 4 colour variants. For me, the green just really stood out. The cool thing with their location was you could go straight onto the balcony and take pictures and get perfect lighting. So the way they did it felt very much like it would be with an independent, to be fair. I enjoyed the appointment. I enjoyed the experience. One other key feature is if you're one of the lucky customers who bought any of these, is you actually get a piece of USM furniture, which is actually the case itself. Palm took a great video, actually, so we can add that to the website, or we can add it to the IG. Probably better on IG in this case.
And where is our website?
It is www.chronopassion7.com. So you can find it there, or you can find it, because of the nature of the show notes, if you're listening to the audio on the website, I don't want another audio to start playing over the top of it. However, if you want it with the audio of the rep going through the details of the function of the case, then I'll add that to our post on Instagram as well, so you can hear that. But very cool. USM is modular furniture, and also your watch box becomes modular, where you can flip up the different compartments to then suddenly store like up to, I believe it was like 12 watches, something like this. So really cool, really fun, really playful. Great price point, around 10k, and I hope we see more DeFis with the El Primero function. Very sharp case, very nice with a Gay Freya's bracelet as well. Very angular, very aggressive, and yeah, I think the El Primero chronograph fits very, very well in the DeFi. Fun experiment with this collaboration. I really hope we see more mainstream offerings, and it'd be interesting to see which colours they make available outside of a collaboration, but a blood red could be quite nice, which is like the classic DeFi colorway, right, from the past. That's one of my key picks. That really won me over. But how about yourself, Pam? What's next on your list?
When you go to these things, we may have ranted a little bit about how the show is a bit all over the place this year.
Just for half an hour.
But yeah, when you go and see brands, and then you almost feel like they're part of the furniture for Geneva Watch Days for you. And one of those brands for me, and I think a couple of the picks I've got are like that. And that brand is Bianche, which we first saw in London, funnily enough, at Watch Pro a couple of years ago, a couple of winters ago. And we met Emmanuel. I think Rodolfo was tied up at the time, but we saw the charming Emmanuel. And I tell you, I got a thing for the combination of black and red. More black with a hint of red, a pop of red. And it was the Bianchi B1618 Ultra Fino Carbon Skeleton in red. And this is a watch they've made for Formula One driver Esteban Ocon. They've made this watch in collaboration with him, so it shows that Bianchi are moving into the realms of Formula One, and having drivers on their sponsorship books as well. They're on the right upward trajectory, and this was in carbon. So the black was this beautifully layered carbon, very cool, very aggressive looking carbon. It's very stony, marbly. It's very earthy, and it's got a skeletonized movement. Again, with a pop of red around the bezel. It's got a tourbillon. And I love the crowns on a Bianchi are very cool. I do love them. I mean, a lot of people would probably say this is kind of like a Richard Mille. Okay, I get what this, a tonneau-shaped case in carbon, sporty, especially with motorsport as well now being involved. They've got a fair point, but I think for the price point they come at compared to a Richard Mille, I think they're brilliant. And I do love going to see the people. And again, I love these watches and that black and red combination with that layered carbon, graphite-y, carbon-y layering. And so I liked it on the bracelet. It was almost a silky texture to the carbon on the bracelet. They do have a red strap with it as well, which gives it that extra red-black pop. But yeah, for me, this was a real highlight. Normally, we come back from these events and someone asks, what do you think was good? And I kind of like, I'll have to sit down, have to decompress, and then have to think about it. I have to process everything I saw. But this one, the Flying Tourbillon Ultra Fino, was just unforgettable, shall we say. An unforgettable experience to have on your wrist. And I've got to say, top marks to Bianchi again for doing it. And I think they've made this one slightly smaller as well, which gives it a bit more of a wearable feel. That was my second pick. Andy, what else caught your eye?
So on to the third pick already, and that takes us over to a very, very creative brand, Artia Geneva, and which stood out to me was the Aqua Sapphire aventurine dial with a really cool blue bezel. And you just have to see this thing. It's so well constructed. But the lighting where we were, you just had the sun and it was just blasting through the transparent blue bezel and the sapphire of the case. When you just have the aventurine dial just pop in and come into life. It was like, here's how to make the most ridiculous diver possible, which is excellently executed at the same time. Honestly, you have to check out the pictures, see the watch for yourself, but also the form of the watch, it fit so well. Like really nice diameter, 41mm, slightly, it's okay. It's within the comfort zone, this 41. And due to the sapphire of the, using sapphire for the case, it instantly makes the diameter feel smaller with the transparency. But just that contrast of black and blue, the way it just really popped and came to life, I loved it. Yeah, absolutely crazy watch. And for Artia, a very reasonable price point for that ultra high-end artisan design, manufacture. But yeah, I loved it. I think it also stood out to you, that one, Palm, from... I know you probably got a different pick, but I think it was equally a bit of a favourite. But it's just so cool, right?
Very cool watch. Very cool watch. It was hard to pick between these two. Okay, I'll just briefly comment on it. It was almost like two fingers up to say, look, this is our Submariner. But we're going to do it our way. Okay, we're not going to do it just a regular dive. You wouldn't go diving with it anyway. But that's
why I led you in. I knew you were going to say that, so I wanted to get out here.
It was so cool, And sticking with Artia again, what I mentioned earlier with Bianchi, there are brands that, I mean, even from Watches and Wonders, that you meet and you feel like they're part of the furniture of the experience. And for me, and for Andy, for both of us, Artia definitely are something special, because one thing I love about them is the light play they have with their sapphire, where it turns different colors in different lights. They didn't have that this time, but the one that really stood out to me from their novelties was the Artia Curvy HMS mirror in titanium. And I'm kind of looking at this, and I'm looking at the Bianche as well, and I'm seeing some really big similarities here. But check out the show notes at www.chronopassion7, the number 7.com, to see these Artia watches and all the watches we talk about. And we'll chuck on a few videos. Andy will be working tirelessly to get as many clips on there as he can, and as many, I'm going to talk about as many watches, so he has to work overtime to get some more watches on the website. But check that out, because the Purity Curvy Stairway to Heaven caliber is in it. It's, again, tonneau-shaped case in titanium, ultralight, skeletonized, which is kind of similar to the Bianche, but then this is a whole different experience. It has the crown at 12 o'clock for starters, and it has an all-round look to it. But I'd say this is more dressy. The Bianche was very sporty, proper sports watch. But you could wear it, if you want to mix it up, you could get away with it, be a bit jaunty, a bit cheeky with a sports watch with a suit or something. But this one fits with any outfit, I'd say. I think there's a good all-roundedness about this, and it's got the movement. It's got twin barrels working in parallel for a smoother energy delivery, and again the skeletonization as well of the movement. And I'll tell you what, one thing I love about Artia is their logo. It almost looks like a superhero logo that you'd get on someone's like on their chest, Avengers, or just something like that. Yeah, so it's just cool, very cool. And the finishing on that case, brushed finishing, is something to behold. And then you see the two barrels as well through the movement. So the balance wheel almost looks like a tourbillon, but it isn't, and the bridges across it, just so well designed. You can just tell that they've put a lot of time and effort into it. And Guillaume from Artia, shout out to Guillaume, because we always love seeing him. I say to him, when's the show going to start? And he knows, right, okay, do this with the light, play around with this, check this out. It's just a really good experience. So if you ever do go to any of these events, check out Artia. And this was definitely one of my favorites from the show.
This leads me to my headache moment, but I couldn't not mention this watch, even though sometimes as journalists you shy away when the watch is so overwhelmingly complex. And not coming from a watchmaker's background, a lot of it's not beyond me, but it takes a lot of concentration to be able to put into words what's going on. However, Lederer with the CIC 39, the one which stood out to me was rose gold with this kind of frosted silver dial. Again, you'll see in the show notes, absolutely beautiful. Before we get into the technology of the watch, aesthetically from the face of a watch, you could pretty much wear it anywhere. And this watch is, maybe 150k chef, right? And it looks like a classic dress piece. There's a few hints of what's going on behind, but overall, it's quite understated. However, that's where it ends. You flip the watch upside down, and you have this incredible sapphire case back, which it's not just like a little sapphire window. It's like the full case back is made from sapphire. It's so transparent, so well done. You feel like you can almost touch the physical movement. And just for me, what really captured me, again, I will explain some of the technology in a moment, but what really captured me with this movement was just, and I think this would resonate with a brand me saying this, is the architecture of the movement, the way it's constructed. It's almost like interpretation is down to an individual perspective, right? But the way I look at it is like looking into like an old Roman city where you've got like an amphitheater, like the main area with the two. Again, this will make sense when you're looking at the show notes, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just mad rambling. Where you see the two main barrels, it's almost like that's the main hub, like the town hall, the central focal point of the city. And then you've got all the inner workings, all the inner little city running around it. But again, that's how it looked to me. whether that looks like anything to anybody else. But I do remember when speaking with Leather River was saying that architectural approach was being applied, and future, like they teased, movements could be more inspired by that concept, and I'll leave it at that. However, what's going on in this watch? It's a ridiculously accurate watch. They don't like to specify their exact plus minus. We're talking milliseconds here, very, very ridiculously accurate. Another thing with this watch, it doesn't actually tick. When they first tried to do the certification and get the accuracy, they couldn't even monitor the watch because it doesn't go tick-tock. So here it is. Not my words. I'm not going to pretend to be intelligent. I'm just going to read from the notes of the website, and I'll probably read that bad, but let me try. So what is this? So Leather has painted it an escapement which transmits an impulse through the central axis of the balance wheel. So it's kind of control at the central axis of a balance wheel, stopping and starting it, controlling it, right? From doing this, my understanding, and from what it's saying here, is it reduces energy loss. So you're not losing energy loss throughout the workings of the movement. Also, it reduces any kind of friction, then enhances the durability of the components themselves. Apparently, this was a problem which Breguet was trying to solve back in 1789 and George Daniels in 1976. So this is 3 centuries of trying to study how to get this accuracy and reliability from the movement. And Leather are the ones who made this innovation. If that sounds interesting and compelling, I would recommend finding an expert watchmaker who explains this far better than I can. There's videos from Leather on YouTube as well. If you go to their website, you can actually, if you're curious, you can hear the movement, how it sounds. It doesn't sound like a regular movement. Obviously, a trained watchmaker could listen to a movement and instantly know what escapement's working in there. But truly magical is the best way of putting it. Like some watches you see and you're like, that is art from the enamel, from the beauty, from the design. The beauty is really in the movement and the obsession with perfectionism within the design of that movement. And that's all I can say. I don't think I can say anything better. But yeah, truly remarkable. Really stood out to me. Grail dream watch. Yeah, check it out. It deserves the attention. And that was my final watch. So I think it's over to Palm. What's next?
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. Couldn't have put it better myself. Right. My next one was, wow, this was quite an experience, this one. This is not a brand that many people are familiar with, but this is why we love watches and why we love Geneva Watch Days and why we love independent watchmaking, when you can make an emotional connection with something. And I'm not just hamming it up. I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm some kind of watch spiritualist. So basically, we went to see Emmanuel Boucher, an independent watchmaker from Switzerland, and they showed us a few of their watches. But we sat down and I thought, you just feel a connection sometimes. We got to see this on the last day as well. I think this was probably these were the last watches we saw, and I do think
final appointment.
Yeah, we saved the best for last, because we were looking at some watches, and when you start to hear the philosophy behind it, you kind of think, okay, that's good. Yeah, you get to feel the heart and soul that the watchmaker like Emmanuel Boucher has poured into this. But there was a trigger phrase that Aurélie used, who was showing us the watches. It was, life is just a moment. And when you lose people close to you, you worry about, especially I've lost a friend similar age to me, a very good friend recently, and you start to question your own mortality. And then you think life is just a moment. It's so true. It could be over in a flash. And when you see that this is the motivation behind creating a beautiful timepiece, it kind of, honestly, the hairs on the back of my head was standing up when I heard her say that. Life is just a moment. And it was just like, wow, I just sat back and I think I just switched off, just thinking, well, that's so true. And then obviously the amazing watch she put in front of me was the Emmanuel Boucher Source ribbon in white gold. Everything about it, so subtle, yet so, I don't know, there's a lot of feeling. I don't know, I connected so well with this there's always a connection with watches that we have, but never like an emotional connection. And there's a little ribbon. It's called the Source ribbon. There's a ribbon they have, and it's almost like the symbol for infinity. But then life is just a moment, and infinity means forever, and life doesn't last forever. So there is a break in it. And it just, everything about the aesthetics to me were like, wow, I'm transfixed with this. It's got an amazing subdial that tells the time. It goes from 12 to the center. It's encrusted with diamonds, sapphires, or emeralds, whatever you want. And it's got these amazing fish hands. I don't know how you'd call them. It's just they have a spearhead at the front, but almost fish body shaped hands. And the indices at 3, 6, 9, and 12 have a precious stone of your choice. And it's just something else. At 4, they have a white gold cone, and at 8, I believe it's a platinum cone. So there's just a lot going on here. And at 6 o'clock, they have a diamond. Okay, this may sound really, I may not be making any sense when I tell you this, but check out the show notes. Just see that the infinity breaking, and it just makes you think, wow, enjoy life, enjoy your watches, and just be happy. Sorry, I'm going a bit over the top with this, but I really did think that this was, I don't know if Andy noticed, but I was kind of like sat down. I was actually slumped in my chair like, wow.
I could see the emotional connection. You was just kind of, it's like you was transported somewhere else. You left the room.
Yeah, it did. It took me somewhere else. I don't know if it was the words and the whole atmosphere, but it was, something happened. There was a moment in that appointment, which is probably quite bizarre to most people listening. And then I even told Emmanuel, in my best French, that was the highlight for me. And he took it. I mean, this is the amazing thing when you talk to watchmakers as well. You could see he put his hand on his heart when I said it, and he kind of gave that nod, like,
he felt it.
Not get out of my room, you crazy man. It was basically, he felt it. He just, yeah. So I'm hoping we could get that brand on a show in the future, because he doesn't speak, his English isn't great. Yeah. I think we're in talks, and we would just love to have them on, just to hear, and it would be a treat for everyone to hear that motivation behind it all.
The only thing I can contribute is his ethos behind watchmaking is poetic. That's all 100%. I'll say. And that's all you need to know, really. You'll understand when we do the show, for sure. And or if you don't, from what Palm's just said, you can already connect that dot, I think, anyway.
Yeah, I won't go on any more about it, because I've been...
I got hair standing up just thinking about it, to be honest. Yeah, no, it was an incredible experience. A great mind, a great vision.
A great mind.
You can tell.
And we were taken by a friend who we'd made on the trip, Stefan as well, who was just unbelievably cool. And legendary charisma, and in the industry as well. He wasn't just some dude. He was someone involved in the industry, yeah. And he took us to see them. He goes, I'm going to show you something special. And my God, he was right. So that was my final pick, and I'm feeling all warm and fuzzy now, because after talking about that one.
Isn't that the beauty of watches, right? And isn't that why we do what we do, right? Like, we might not be able to own these pieces, but it's just it's art. For me, watchmaking is art, especially at this level, at independent level. It's like, this is a deja vu. We've had this conversation. Who did we have this conversation with? But like, sitting down with Picasso, that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? Or Salvador Dali. You're sitting down with these crazy creative minds, just in a different segment of art, a different interpretation of, well, what is art? Everything's art, right? If we want to get into that. Yeah, the art of watchmaking is truly remarkable, and it is an emotional connection. If you don't have that emotional connection with it, then maybe you don't get it. I think at a certain point, that's when you're truly in the rabbit hole, I'd say.
Yeah, I think there's always one watch that someone is going to fall in love with, and just think, I don't understand why I'm in love with this, but I am.
Yeah. If you truly love watches for what they represent and what they are, then it's impossible not to have that connection, yeah. Anyway, on that bombshell, let's get into the final highlights. Look, so many brands we saw. They're really the four which really stood out to us, which we thought deserved the spotlight. However, there is other brands who we equally shared the same, let's say, passion for. and stood out to us. One of which, Jacob & Co. One thing with Jacob & Co., incredible hospitality every time. You're handling watches worth $500,000, and they're very offended if you ask to try it on, like Palm did, right? So
Yeah.
but you feel like you've got to ask because it's
They're offended that if you ask, can I try it on? They think, of course you can try it on. That's Not
so what are you talking about? Why are you here? Yeah. What are you here for if you're not trying it on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's one good thing because brands can have stigma around them, and there's no snobbery with Jacob & Co. It is just sit down, share the passion, enjoy the watch. They want you to enjoy the watch, to see it for what it truly is. But there was two pieces, right? Two novelties. One was Astronomia Solar Dragon, which, I mean...
Well, where do you begin?
Do you want to take it? Where do you want to go?
Well, gosh, 44 mil. So it's an Astronomia, so it's a big watch. And it's going to be an absolutely stunning watch based on astronomy and astrology because they seem to mix it all in together. This one's, as they say, the dragon. So it's got a dragon around the hour track. And this dragon, the detailing, it's precious metal. The detailing, the colouring, the enameling, the shape, the artistry that's gone into this is honestly mind-blowing. And the eye, he was saying, you look at the eyes, check out the eyes, and it was just like the way the eyes were enameled was spooky.
Remarkable, right?
Yeah. And a 288 faceted Jacob cut precious stone. They couldn't tell us which one it was, but I'm not sure anyone knows what one it was.
No, nobody knows. It's a mystery.
Yeah, it's quite a mystery. That's why the mystery of the dragon. Stunning piece, yeah.
So there's no animation in it, just to, obviously the dragon is tied around the whole movement, so it's not moving on any axis in this case. It's a stationary, but the attention is basically the 288 facet gem cut precious stone and the ridiculously detailed dragon, which is all hand carved out of solid rose gold, which is remarkable in its own essence without even the painting, which is just next level on top.
It's a big watch. It's 44 and it wears, because it's got a domed sapphire crystal, sapphire sides. And the gentleman who showed us the watch, he said, this watch isn't for anyone. And then he looked at me and he goes, because not everyone's built like a brick shithouse. And I was like, okay, this watch is for me then. He goes, you can get away with it. But that was quite a funny moment.
Yeah, no, it's always that's what I mean. It's just very genuine, down to earth, right? Like it's a very professional presentation, but there's banter, right? Fun throughout it as well.
Definitely fun.
One final piece we saw was a piece unique, which was an Astronomia, the 4-axis tourbillon, the one where the whole tourbillon moves the full 12 to 12 in 1 minute. And they decided to splice a very thin piece of opal on the backstage of that. And again, they were just saying the failure rate on cutting the stone like that. It's such a big piece as well and so thin. I was asking, like, how thin do you get it? And they're just like, look, they get it to a point where it fits and that's it. Otherwise, you could just destroy the stone. But truly beautiful. Truly striking. That was even larger. I think that's actually the watch, which he said that's for you.
Oh, was that the one?
That was a bigger one. Yeah, the actual Solar Dragon was a slimmer form factor for the Astronomia range. Still a big watch, but yeah, the 4-axis
so what's
was
that? 46.
Yeah, next level. It's actually 47 millimeters. So compared to the Solar Dragon, that's the brick shit house watch.
That's the brick shit house territory. Yeah.
Massive.
Gosh, it's always crazy going in, Jake. I love how they look after you in there. Just the passion as well with it. The movement, the technology is amazing, but it's all about the artistry and aesthetics of what they've done. With it's just you're going to Disneyland's not doing it justice. You're going to somewhere very, very special. Yeah.
They always have the watches hidden as well. You know, when you go in, they always have it covered with the glove, and then they do the description, and you're like, "Come on, show me the watch."
Yeah, they give you a build up. You almost need a drum roll.
They like to tease you.
Yeah. Great visit. Yeah, always awesome. Good to see Jacob. Always good to see him.
Familiar face. The brand who we always, one who we always go and connect with.
So then we went to see a brand that's equally as engineering focused and wants to tell time differently. That's what a lot of these things do. They want to tell, we hear that a lot as well. They want to tell time differently. They don't want to do the standard, here's two hands and a second hand sweeping round. They want to make it very special. That's where the extra effort and cost comes in, because it is art. These are artisan watchmakers. And the brand I'm talking about is Uhrwerk. They showed us their novelty for Geneva Watch Days, which was the Uhrwerk UR 150 Scorpion. And gosh, I don't even know how to describe this.
Texture is one thing. If you talk about the case, ridiculous. And the dial.
Yeah, check the show notes. We've got a little clip of the hour flipping. So it's basically, this watch has a retrograde mechanism and a flying carousel, so which has 3 hour, they call them satellites, which again, like the Moser from earlier, they flick around and they show the hour in 3 different places, which is 6, 10, and 2. Again, it's a complex mechanism. I cannot describe this on a podcast. You have to check out the show notes.
You need to see it.
Yeah, it's just a jumping hour in 3 different places around a watch, and it just looks so space age.
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me, the movement ridiculous, but it's the depth and the perception what they played with this, because you've got this riveted case. Again, check out the pictures. But then also the outer dial is riveted as well. It's just so much depth and texture. You can see they've had a lot of fun. And I think that's where the Scorpion inspiration comes from. No, because a Scorpion's got, that riveted kind of body armor, if you like, to the Scorpion, and mimicking that in the case design. That's my way of interpreting what they're going for there. Incredible. Again, art can be presented in many different forms within watchmaking. Her work is very funky, very fresh, very space age, I would say.
Well, what they say is the retrograde hand makes a 240-degree jump, and the hour satellites rotate 270 degrees. So can you imagine that motion, the actual thought and physics that went into
energy
making
it takes
that happen?
To do it?
Yeah, exactly. Torque, inertia, it's just all thrown in. Yeah,
mental. But we got to sit down with Martin Frey, right, as well, which was a great experience. And that all happened, again, thanks to one small little Amiga on my wrist. So we're with our friend of a brand from her work, and she was like, I must show this to Martin. And he came running over, and then the conversation starts, and then you just spiral into a whole different...
He told us that, he said, this has been done by Patek in the 50s. And it was supposed to be casquette, a Patek Philippe casquette, Cobra.
Yeah.
Patek Philippe Cobra. So check out, that'll be in the show notes, and if you want to check it out for yourself as well. I mean, it's just the least Patek-looking Patek I've ever seen. And it was based on an old, 1930s, those old big chrome cars, big American cars with chrome everywhere and beautifully shaped. And the actual fuel gauge, was it the fuel gauge or the speedo? I think it was the speedo on it.
Like the speedo. It was like the speedo, I think. The speedometer.
It mimicked the actual time telling, mimicked the speedometer on it, and or like an old radio. And it was just Patek Philippe were doing it, and we were like, wow, gosh, where did that come from? And then Martin could have sat down and just told us so much more.
We had to run somewhere else. It's always the case as well. You have to go somewhere else just as you're really enjoying it starts off with just a comment about a watch. Tell me about the watch, where did it come from, how they created because if you see the Amiga, the way they make that bracelet, I don't understand, like how it all connects together, because it's all invisible. Proper jewellery making in a watch, right? And that's how it triggered off into a Patek story. Then we got talking about their work rings. Like it just spiraled and then into the Patek story and all of this, and how it inspired certain things within her work as well. It's just funny how such an old world watch design can still connect with such a futuristic modern watch brand at the same time. Everybody comes from the same source, the same recipe, all come from the same roots of the industry. Even though they might be making completely opposite watches, everything kind of traces back, and the appreciation is there for all of these different kinds of watches, which is always awesome to see. But yeah,
So I think, oh, hang on, we've got a couple left. So
2 more.
that moved us on to one of our favorite brands, probably one of the realest independent brands we've got out there. And I would say that's Oris. Oris, again, you speak to them, they speak to you like you're a friend. Inan was amazing. We always talk to him when we see Oris. He offers us beer. He insists we have a beer with him as well. It was like, no, none of this alcohol-free stuff.
Decline?
We're going to give you the proper beer. Shout out to Inan as well from Oris, because he was an absolute legend. And he sat down with us and showed us some of their really cool new releases. But Andy, what stood out to you?
You know what's really funny? I'll laugh into myself a little bit because it was that time of day where you are really ready for a beer. We always we're like, when should we go see Oris? Because it's kind of a thing now with a beer. And then, you're going through his presentation, and do you know when you're just like a magpie, you're listening and they're explaining another watch to you, but you're like, I want to look at this one. And the one which stood out to me, it wasn't the release of Geneva Watch Days, it was this year, but it was the Aquis Date with a blue mother of pearl dial. And it just gave me like this Yachtmaster kind of vibe, and the diameter as well, like 36.5. Great for me, great diameter, just sits beautifully on the wrist. It was on the rubber strap, you can have it on the bracelet as well, but it just had this really sporty, cool diver, and it had elements of the Rolex Yachtmaster, which I really like. Not copying it, but just had hints of that design, what I like, within a diver. And yeah, that's the one, keeping it simple, but I just gravitated to it. I think it was the cool mother of pearl dial, and just that kind of platinum-esque looking bezel, which, looked awesome. I really liked it. How about yourself?
Likewise, the novelties were amazing. They had that really cool Bamford model, but
insane. The
Bamford collaboration model. But for me, this is a watch that was released just before Geneva Watch Days, and that was the Oris Diver 65 chronograph. And it's almost like what would you call it? A green panda. It's got a silver dial, but it's got a very deep green bezel and chronograph subdials at 3 and 9, again in deep green. And it's just, there's something about it. It's 40 mil, but it wears very well. It wears very small. Lug to lug must be quite, I don't know the lug to lug off the top of my head, but it just feels right. You wear it, you could just, it's an everyday chrono. You don't need to worry about it. But it's just, the fit is brilliant. The sizing is brilliant. The look is brilliant. It's got, like I say, it's a silver sunray dial, they call it. Vintagey kind of look, I guess. It's kind of got a bit like, it's like the Tudor chronos, but a lot more vintage looking, with the two subdials, and definitely slimmer and a lot more, I just think, easier on the eye because it's smaller. It's 40 mil. It's got the Oris in-house caliber 771. Again, that was one of my favorites. And that's the watch Inan was wearing as well, ironically, because he was showing us all these watches, and then he said, I felt sorry for him. He goes, yeah, so which is your favorite? And I was kind of like, the one you're wearing. He was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Try it on, yeah. Try it on. I was like, oh, God, yeah, sorry, it was, at these events, these brands are amazing. You can try on anything. There was no exception in this case. But yeah, that was my pick of the Oris bunch.
So that leads us to our final, I don't want to say final brand, I want to say final experience. Courtesy of the limited edition, our friends Pietro, Ollie, Sam, thank you so much for the invitation. And we had the opportunity to go to the maison, or the headquarters of Singer, which was very humbling, very family feeling, very family orientated, right? And just very chilled out. And we got to sit down, we got to check out. I've wanted to check out Singer for such a long time, actually. And there used to be Singer Reimagined, now it's Singer, right? And we got to see all the various range, but their newest novelty, which is the Caballero, just really, really stood out to both myself and Palm. So we're like, look, it's one of our favorite picks, but we do this joint because it's just so awesome, right? And again, go to the show notes, and I'm not going to say everything, so as Pam can cover it as much. My favorite iteration was the green lacquer dial, and the thing what you will see is 4 jewels appearing on the dial, and that's a little indication to that there's a bit more going on with this three-hander than meets the eye, and that's because it's got 4 barrels, 6-day power reserve, and you've got
6
these
days.
running in parallel, giving a constant torque to the movement. Without saying too much, for me, it's almost like I saw it like a 4-wheel drive kind of thing. And with the car link, I see two kind of car links with Singer. One is it's a sleeper, like a sleeper car. So you remember you had Renault Clios, but it had a Williams engine inside, or a Seat at Bath, like these pocket rockets, which from the outside, it's a little car, simple three-hander, but underneath is a serious motor, and that's what I feel is going on there with Singer. I mean, the 4-wheel drive thing, it's not 4-wheel drive as such, but it's that same thing of that constant tension, right, giving the traction to the movement to keep great accuracy as well as good power reserve. But great profile on the wrist. We had to guess the price, right? And I was saying, I don't know, 40 grand or something for this, because you look at the movement. And then I think it was something don't quote me, but around 13 or something like this, very accessible.
14,
for such. Something like for the technology, for the innovation. But I feel like I'm talking too much, so.
Don't worry about talking too much. No, I mean, we liked, the 4 barrels, the 6-day power reserve. And the thing is, it's a very unassuming piece as well. The jewels look amazing, and then when you find out what the jewels are for, you think, okay, there's method to this. There's not just, oh, that's nice, let's stick 4 jewels on the dial. There's some serious, like you say, some serious engine under that hood on such a small, pocket rocket, super hot hatch. Yeah,
I think that's the way of putting it, right? It's the hot hatch of Singer watches. It's the hot
hatch, definitely. I mean, you like the green one. I like the blue one with the orange accents as well. I think
I'm surprised you didn't go green. I know we're just talking colours, but I thought I don't know, I got that British kind of vibe from
racing green,
which is why I liked it.
Look, no one can figure out what I like. It's just the wind changes direction, right? And that's what I like.
And it's got the orange. Of the blue's got the orange accents, right? Yeah, it's got the orange accents as well. Yeah,
it's just the blue. It was a nice deep blue as well. It's a very visually pleasing watch. It's very easy to wear. I mean, the classic Singer for me would be the 1969 chronograph with the unique way of actually telling the time. Flyback chrono, or just straight chrono, and this is a nice toned down version to get you into the brand. You get a nice Singer for a decent price for an independent watch, considering what it's got, like we say, under that hood. It's an independent brand watch that you can wear. It's Singer. A gateway almost. Yeah, you may end up hooked on Singer with this, but even the caballero, it's a Spanish word for the gentleman. So this is a gentleman's watch. They're kind of going for a bit more dressy than Singer reimagined, or Singer as a changing their brand to very sporty, very high, very unique sporty look, very themselves. But this, I suppose, if they were going to make a dress watch, this is what it was going to look like. very them.
Yeah, check them out. Again, at first look, you're just like, three-hander. But then, as you say, you spot the jewels, you figure something's
afoot.
It's afoot. Just you have it on your wrist, and you're just like, I know what's behind this dial. I mean, it's a personal thing, but you flip it over and you're like, oh yes. I mean, for that price point as well, it's incredible, to be honest. I honestly thought it was going to be a lot more money, and it's expensive, but it's not crazy out of reach if you really want it. That's one thing with independents. They can be sometimes a little out of reach, but Singer wanted to make this accessible.
Yeah, 100%. So check out the show notes again for this, and check out the movement. It's interesting. I was talking to some friends yesterday, and they said, why don't you do video? You talk about all these amazing watches, but that's what the show notes are for. Exactly. That's where your visual experiences is. So, check out the show notes. You don't need video.
Why would you want to look at our two faces?
Exactly. What do you look at us for?
So I think that's it. That's it. I put a nice little bow in it. I think we've covered Geneva Watch Days 2
Geneva Watch
this year.
Days. Tick. Geneva Watch Days done.
Brilliant. Yeah, what an event, what an occasion. Any final thoughts before we close?
My final thoughts, I'm looking forward to next year, and I hope I don't get as many blisters on my feet as I did this year.
I hope I don't get the Geneva Watch Days fever, and that is not a buying fever, that is not a dance fever, that is sick. There was a big bug going around, and I was ill all last week. So hopefully I don't catch it again touch wood. It's coming back.
When you ring in work and say, I'm off sick. I think that was Andy's attempt to pretend that he was
sick.
ill.
Yeah, I can't do the show notes. Yeah. Right. On that one,
let's
then.
wrap this up.
Let's sign off. A pleasure. Thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you to all of the brands for a wonderful experience. And that is adios, hasta luego from Barcelona. You will hear me on the next one.
Yep, and as Andy says, farewell from Barcelona in Spain. As we wrap up Geneva Watch Days 2025, looking forward to 2026. Good memories, good friends, good laughs, a lot of walking. But it was definitely worth it. So, from London, it's Toodle Pip and laters, and we'll see you and you'll hear us in the next one.